everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I hope you are having I hope you are staying safe, and I hope you are still wearing your mask. People, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with race and the riots and police brutality, and we're talking about reparations seriously. But I hope everybody's still wearing your mask when you go outside. Okay? So that's the first thing I want to say. But family, as usual, please hit the like button. Please share. Please do all these wonderful things. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Do not forget tomorrow that we're having an all call-in show. So tomorrow, and since I don't have to set up for the all call-in show, we should get started tomorrow at around 9:30. There's no setup, so I just come in and we talk. So 9:30, the all call-in show tomorrow. If you haven't been able to get in, you got something you want to say, something you want to get off your chest. I have an eyelash. Something you want to get off your chest. Please, please, please call in tomorrow, because we're just gonna be having conversations tomorrow. That's it. That's what we're gonna be doing. We're just gonna be having conversations. Also, fam, where is it at? Do not forget that on July the 30th, that's the last Thursday in the month, that we will be reading this book. Please do not forget that. That will be a 2-day show. So it will probably be not just the 30th, it'll be the Thursday and the day after. I keep forgetting to say that. Immigration and the remaking of Black America. So please do not forget to tune in for that both days, because we're going to be having a conversation. As always, if you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com or patreon.com/Carnell, however you want to do it. But hitting that like button right now really helps the situation. And that's absolutely free. What's going on with my eye? That is absolutely free to you. Now let's get into it, family. When I said something is happening. Something is happening. Well, Yvette, what's happening? What are you talking about? There is something going on in the world right now. What is going on in the world right now, family? Is that a lot of things are coming together at one time. So you have things that are coming together at one time that we never could have anticipated. As ADOS, we know what we did. You ain't got to tell us what we did. We know we got reparations on the national stage. We know we did that. But we know we made it a conversation. We know we did that. We know ADOS did that. But we did not know that a pandemic was coming. Oh, Lord, it's a fire. So we didn't know a pandemic was coming. And what that means is that now has become an interesting moment. I saw this article, I think on a podcast somewhere, but it was very interesting in terms of how predictive it was. This article talks about how the pandemic was coming and the riots were going to come with it. And there are a lot of reasons for that, including how vulnerable white people are. See, I like to frame stuff. We're going to frame this in terms of what kind of moment this is and what can be done in this moment and what's being done wrong in this moment. That's how we're framing this. There are a lot of people who are misusing this moment, who are selfishly using this moment to build a brand or to build a slush fund. And we have to talk about what this moment is, what this moment could be, and how people are using this moment to redirect to something else. Remember what I said during the whole Tariq Nasheed fiasco split, that you have to be very aware of agents of chaos. You also have to be very aware of what I like to call the people who kind of the redirectors. They kind of redirect traffic and energy. I've talked about how they do that in terms of Black Lives Matter. They just redirect everything. They redirect it. Well, this is energy that's built off Black death, but I'm gonna put it over here in this group. This is energy built off Black people and what we've been through, but I'm gonna put it over here in this group. Be very aware of the redirectors. But we're going to talk about just the context before we get started good, the context of this moment and why this moment doesn't come very often. So let me just bring this up for you. This is a question and answer with the woman who predicted, who talked about this. This is March. Look at the date on this art. This is March. And she was already telling us, yeah, it's going to be some riots. Because that's what happens. There's a psychological and it's just what's going to be. So she predicted that, and we're going to talk about why. Because why goes into why we're not going to have this moment again anytime soon. The question that's asked from the reporter is, how can leaders balance the destruction of viral transmission without the destruction of the human spirit and liberties? This is very interesting in terms of how she describes a quarantine. Even though some people are out of quarantine, but it's not really out of quarantine. You ain't got no job, you ain't got, or the job you thought you had. A quarantine is a state, period, or place of isolation in which people or animals that have arrived from elsewhere or have been exposed to infections or contagious disease are placed. Quarantines are something that is imposed on you and done to you. It is not a voluntary, and in most mass quarantine cases, those in quarantines are not consulted or engaged in the decision-making process. So already you have something very interesting. Already you have a situation that she's talking about where you have, what she's saying is that you have a situation where white people are starting to feel vulnerable. See, we don't normally have that. Normally it's us over here feeling vulnerable and those in Appalachia, the poorest of the poor white people. But overwhelmingly, it's us feeling vulnerable, multi-generationally accrued disadvantage and oppression. It's us. Now it's you. So we have an opportunity for you to feel a little bit of what we feel and do something with it. So let's go into something else that she says really quickly. Just good examples. During the 2014-2015 Ebola crisis, riots carried on for days in the West Point neighborhood of Liberian capital Monrovia. About 70,000 people woke up one morning to find themselves blockaded into their poor area, including checkpoints and buffer zone, according to NPR reporters on the site. But to make matters worse, a government official was escorted out of the zone, causing an eruption of outrage, violence, and inevitably the spread of Ebola. Their rage was both predictable and reasonable as they saw it. Injustice was being done, and others were likely deciding who lived and died. Now, isn't that what we're living through here? Because this is not, understand. Everybody has to understand something. The importance of this moment is just not who we saw die. It's just not who we saw murdered. The importance of this moment is also who controls this moment. So I saw somewhere, I forget where the protest was, but I saw somewhere there was a protest, and what they did was the person, whoever was protesting, they said something like rob the rich. We shouldn't have to pay for COVID, and basically talking about how all the money for coronavirus and the relief, didn't go to us. People who had relationships to banks. I'm not talking about us as ADOS, just like regular people. There's a lot of underlying frustration and aggravation, and people are at home. So you have a lot of white people right now who before they were not paying attention. Well, I go to work and it's just white people, and I go to the bar with white people. I play tennis with white people, and we have a ball of a time. We have a wonderful time. So I'm able to distract myself from what's going on in the horrors of black people, in terms of how we're oppressed by just because I live in a white community and I have a lot of distractions and I have a life. That's over with. So I just want everybody to understand that we're in a very kind of specific moment right now. We're in a moment where people can't distract themselves. There's no basketball. I don't know if we'll ever have this moment again. And we're in a moment where people, like with the Ebola, we're in a moment where people are ready to fight. People are ready to punch somebody out. That is interesting, right? That is some interesting stuff. So let's go to the next one. I just want to lay a foundation for what I'm saying. And history has taught us that whether it's caused by fear, frustration, or helplessness that comes with imprisonment, human beings do not respond well to forced lockdowns. These feelings are often exacerbated by sentiments that the vulnerable are being taken advantage of. Yes, this is outrage. A company is gained by knowledge that almost all causes. Yeah, this is what. Listen, human being. What this is saying when she says there is also outrage that accompanies the gain knowledge that in almost all cases The resources needed are not available, as it is difficult to prepare for the unknown. I don't know if you'll ever have white people more vulnerable than they are right now. We couldn't do it. It took a pandemic to do it. But what happens to the human brain and the subsequent behavioral responses when placed on lockdown, much like imprisonment, is very predictable. Adrenaline and stress hormones like cortisol kick into an acute stress response. This is what leads to the fight or flight response we often refer to. What that means is that your symptomatic nervous system, the involuntary regulation of things like blood pressure, heart rate, pupil dilation, kicks in so rapidly, many people don't realize it's happening. And it helps you, it tells you you're now in a survival mode. And at this point, you'll have an almost uncontrollable response that either tells you to stand your ground and fight or turn and run from danger. Or turn and run for danger. See, that I wanted to break it down just to show you what this moment is. This is not a moment of we've had a bunch of ADOS people get killed and murdered for 400 years, and people have kind of cared for a little while and did a little bit, but well, we don't want to do all of that. We don't want to end whiteness. So don't want to end whiteness. So what I'm saying that this shows is that when you bring a pandemic into this racial injustice, you have kind of this combustible moment that you can do something with. But you can't do nothing with it if it's being done wrong. If everything's being done wrong and you let the wrong people take advantage of the moment, ain't nothing you can do with it. You might as well give it up. You might as well give it. I saw a bunch of Republicans today on TV talking about how awful what happened to George Floyd was. And I thought, I have never seen that before. But this country was on fire because of race, not class, not Medicare. Because of race and how we're treated. And we have to take advantage of this moment. And we have to not squander it. And here, I want to just talk about and have a conversation about 11 ways. I'm sure there are more. And when you all call in, you can bring them up. And I'm sure there are more ways that this moment is being exploited. But I think we have to talk about some of them. One of them is making this moment not about us. So if you make this moment not about us, this moment is about everybody. When you talk about Ahmaud Arbery, you talk about Breonna Taylor, when you talk about George Floyd, I don't care whether you go back to Eric Garner, I don't care whether you go back to Trayvon Martin, I don't care whether you go back to Sandra Bland. When you go back to these are ADOS people who have been murdered either by police or by vigilantes. That means this is our moment. One of the ways that you fail in this moment, as Reverend Barbara is doing, is by making this moment not about us, about just poor people. And some people say, well, Yvette, Dr. King had a poor people's march. He didn't know how this turned out. I know how it turns out. I know that the rest of Americans haven't been as invested in ADOS justice and freedom as they should have been. I know how this turns out. I know you have to focus this moment on specificity. The specificity moment is not just about poor people. It's about what we're owed. So if you are doing what Reverend Barbara is doing in this moment, you are not doing what is necessary in this moment. You are not doing what needs to be done in this moment, because this moment is not about poor people. It wasn't just poor people on the ground. George Floyd wasn't just poor people. Remember I said in a different show that his family had 500 acres that was robbed from them. That's part of what landed him on that ground. This is not about just poor people. And you a black man, Reverend Barbara. It's about time you act like it. Everybody gotta understand what shoulders they stand on. If you stand on King's shoulder, understand you got a king for most of his life advocated for us. That doesn't mean he didn't try to build coalition, but his whole life wasn't coalitioning. I remember you, Reverend Barbara, when Marion Williamson was over there talking about reparations and you were squirming and squinching. Like you didn't want to be bothered. I remember that. It's about time you have some focus. It does not make you any less godly or any less Christian to focus on us. We are the least of them. They talk about us in the Bible. Isn't that something? It's time for America to handle the least of them in terms of what we have contributed, what we're owed, and how we have been treated. You better make the cross around your neck have some kind of meaning. And you cannot be upset. You have to tell white people in this moment that this is what coalitioning means. It means justice for us. And justice for us is justice for you. This is how we have reconciliation, and we become part, and we have togetherness, and we become part of the same group. If you want to have a oneness amongst America, you have to pay us back for the plunder. There's no way around it. This thing you are doing, Reverend Barber, where you're just talking about the Poor People's Campaign and trying to take off where Dr. King left off, even though Dr. King's dream didn't succeed. He took a bullet for it, but it didn't succeed. It's not good enough, sir. You have to do the hard part, and the hard part is always advocating for ADOS. That's the hard part. You can advocate for poor people. Everybody gonna love you. Everybody gonna send you money. But when you advocate for us, it's hard. But you are squandering the moment. That's why that's number one. If you make this about anybody other than ADOS, you are squandering this moment. Number two is what I just said. If you make this anything, let me find the chart. If you make this about anything other than the plunder, we have a problem. This is what it's about. If you need to screenshot this, if you need to save it, whatever you need to do, I want you to look at this very hard. I want you to look at the yellow is black. Look at how that is. And I want you to look at the white up top. You have to make this, number two, you have to make this about the plunder. If you don't make this about the plunder of us, from labor to us eating the failure, if you don't make it about that, we lose. Focus on the plunder. Focus on the plunder of our communities, and focus on how this is not just happening one moment. Yes, it was slavery and free labor, but it continued. We could not even, everybody talking right now about Aunt Jemima. They done took Aunt Jemima. Oh Lord, they done took Aunt Jemima. They gonna rename it to something. I don't know what they gonna do. But the point of the matter is, I'm not just concerned about a name change. I'm not with your little bait and switch. My main concern is that I am sure, remember the original Aunt Jemima? That's who I think of in my head with the scarf. She could cook. What I'm saying, I know based on a stereotype, I understand, but that's based off somebody who could cook. My problem is that I believe, and I've seen articles about this, but I believe in my heart of hearts that there was a real Aunt Jemima, and that she came up with pancakes and all kind of little fluffy tasting goods with syrup and jelly and jams, and that she never got paid for that, and some white person went off and took what she made and made a bunch of money off of it because she could not protect her intellectual property because she was ADOS. I want whoever that woman and all these women are to get paid for it. Remember that even happened with Paula Deen. She had a black woman working in the kitchen, and apparently she took a lot of stuff and ran off. No, forget about name changes. Forget about stereotypes for a second. Where are the monies? Because you can't season food for nothing. I'm not talking about the French who make French food. I'm talking about right here in America. You can't, you know you got that nice little fluffy pancake waffle from a strong black woman in the kitchen with a bunch of flour and butter and eggs. You got to pay her family, pay her, whoever. That's what I'm concerned about. There are a whole lot of companies that just basically took what we invented, took our creations, took our recipes, and made money off of it. I want that money returned. Again, when that money's not returned, this is what ADOS looks like. ADOS looks like this because Our community has been plundered and nobody gave the money back. When you are a robbed and plundered community, you are on the bottom the same way as Latinos who haven't been here nearly as long as you've been here. That is the consequence. You got to pay it back. You got to pay it back. Now let me go into I want to go into the third thing that is becoming a problem in terms of ADOS. Let me see if I can find it. Because there are a lot of problems in terms of who is trying to co-opt this energy and use it for what they want to use it for. We got a lot of grifters, and that's a problem too. I don't know where all these grifters come from. They like gnats. You ever try to get rid of gnats in the summertime and you try to put up stickies and little things? They just like that. They just everywhere. Just floating, just floating, just floating. But you got to get rid of them. And I mean that you have to stop supporting them. You have to start telling people that you are not qualified to lead. I'm sorry, you're a thief. And you have to stop letting people rewrite your story. So what do I mean? You remember this. And Antonio Moore did a video about this, so go check it out on his YouTube page. But, you know, Joe Biden kind of alluded to reparations. And this goes to my fourth point. This 3 and 4 kind of go together. Because when I say don't let them rewrite the story. Listen, indigenous people, I don't mean no disrespect. I don't mean no disrespect. I really don't. But not only were you here first, Native Americans, you also own slaves. And like you got duped by the white man. I'm sorry. You got duped. He promised you beads and stuff and you went for it. That's not my problem. And then you went and had slaves. You're not me. And then everybody wants to talk about, well, Mexicans came here and they were enslaved too. They immigrated voluntarily. Nobody told them to leave Mexico. So when you talk about don't let them rewrite the groups, I swear that right now they're trying to rewrite slavery as a people of color epidemic. Well, people of color were enslaved. Pretty soon it's not going to be blacks taken from Africa. It's going to be people of color were enslaved because they're trying to take these aberrational people and say, oh, well, there were a few Mexican slaves. That's not the issue, Dodo Bird. The issue is that these people, it's not even the number. And that, because they didn't build America. No Mexican slaves or indigenous slaves built this country. The other part about it is, with the Mexican slaves, you came here voluntarily. And when we talk about the indigenous people, I don't know what y'all were doing. You the reason they was here in the first place. You was believing them and whatever they said and all that stuff. Well, he gave me some beads. I guess he all right. You know, America's, I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on. I don't know why Reverend Barber, when we're talking about race, and we're finally, like, that's some traitorous stuff to me. We're finally talking about race in a real way. And we're finally talking about, you know, ADOS and being beat down. And you had a Poor People's March. No, this is our moment. How y'all just be, and well, it's the indigenous people who were slaves too. It's kind of like the Irish story where the Irish, no, we had that, how the Irish became white. Stop lying. You can't let nobody steal this because I already see the pivot. They finna make this whole thing about people of color. People of color were all slaves because they know that's our story. And they see reparations coming. So the way you deal with that is to say, I have a reparations story too. No, cut that parachute off. Let them drop to the ground. You don't get to piggyback. You get to make your own reparations case. Don't you piggyback on me. And if you make it, I want you to tie yourself. I can tie myself to sharecropper and slave. I want you to tie your specific self, not your group, your specific self, your specific body to people who built the country. I'm not talking about Native Americans who ran away because Native Americans knew the land more than the white people. So a lot of times they couldn't. Booker T. Washington talks about this, how they ran away. White people started to consider them noble savages. We're not going to enslave them. But they sure enslaved us. The Cherokee chief, lionized for his efforts to fight forced relocation, was also an advocate and protectioner of slavery. Yeah, you wanted to be white. See what happened with the Native Americans? A lot of the time, after they started trying to be like white people. You know, it's how we remember that we did a thing about how Latinos try to be white and how they mark white on their census now. Everybody been trying to be white. Listen, you ain't ADOS then. We ain't trying to be that. Y'all always try to, and you didn't build the country. You ran off into the woods. You were trying to show white people you were like them by holding slaves. You know, a funny thing. Let me see if I can find it. It's a lot of weird stuff these people have been doing and not saying nothing about it. Well, I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know why Yvette is so disagreeable. I'm not disagreeable. I just know what you did. How Native American slaveholders complicate the Trail of Tears. It's funny when people say complicate. Like, well, this makes the story complicated. No, they had slaves. Trying to be white. And there's a cost to that. There's just a cost to that. You can't get reparations if you had us just like white people had us, and y'all been getting all kind of monies. Let's be honest about this whole thing. Y'all been getting all kind of monies. Let me see if I can find the other part of this, because there was a great little other section of this about the monies. Oh, let me bring this up real quick. Hold on a second. When you think of the Trail of Tears, you likely imagine a long procession of suffering Cherokee Indians forced westward by a villainous Andrew Jackson. Perhaps you envision an unscrupulous white slaveholders whose interest in growing a plantation economy underlay the decision to expel the Cherokee, flooding in to take their river place east of the Mississippi River. What you probably don't picture are Cherokee slaveholders. Foremost among them, Cherokee Chief John Ross. What you probably don't picture are numerous African American slaves, Cherokee owned, who made the brutal march themselves or else were shipped en masse to what is now Oklahoma aboard cramped boats by wealthy Indian masters. What? You want reparation from who? Longfoot? Who you want that from? Who you think gonna give you that? Chief Choctaw? Who you think? No. And let me tell you something else. Let me just say this real quick before I go to my next image. You know, it's only ADOS who, whenever we're about to get something, somebody tries to come in and me too. I was a part of that. Nobody says when the Indians have a whole, you know, they have Indian Bureau or whatever it is in the government. Nobody says that like I should get that too, although we should. I have never said that I should get a casino, although I should. It's only us that people come in and say, well, I mean, you gonna have to include us. By what right? You were trying to be white. Let me understand this. The white people came over here and then they tried to hold you as slaves, and you were just wiry and squirrely. And you know, and so we became the slaves, and then we built the country and all the stuff. But let me just understand this. They decided that you were noble savages, not like us. We were just savages. And so what happens is you decided that you were going to show the white man you were civilized by owning slaves. And somehow, now that the slaves and the descendants of the slaves who have the oppression is still in our economics. Like, we still eat the poverty and everybody else do it. And I'm not talking about what you eat. I don't care what you eat. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you tried to do that and you own slaves, and now you come around and say that you should get what slaves get. That's kind of like when you hear like West African immigrants say, well, we should get reparations too. But maybe if you don't prove it, first of all, you don't come from slaves. You don't have the accrued disadvantage and the poverty baked into you and your community, because you and the ADOS, you live in white communities. Don't think I don't know. But not only that, you might have sold us over here. So how do you get to sell us over here and then come over here and benefit from the sale? Like, you and the white man are the same. If you sold me here, the white man's right here, and you sold me here, y'all are the same fist. It is what it is. So let me go to this back. We're going back real quick to you. Does he don't even look Indian to me. He was trying so hard to be white. Good God Almighty. Obviously Smith said the story should be, this is what the story should have been, he's saying, or needs to be, that enslaved people and soon to be exiled red people would join forces and defeat their oppressor. But such was not the case. Far from it. The 5 civilized tribes were deeply committed to slavery, established their own racialized black codes, immediately reestablished slavery when they arrived in Indian territory, rebuilt their nations with slave labor, crushed slave rebellions, and enthusiastically sided with the Confederacy in the Civil War. I will sock you out if you try to put this group into reparations. The 5 tribes, they own 15% of the slaves. These people own 50%, and they trying to listen. Let me tell you something. I know the last caller called in last week and said, Yvette, I don't want to set Native Americans off against us. Listen, how come y'all ain't standing up and saying, listen, we own slaves. We have no part of this. Everybody got to stop trying to use us and goop off of us and take from us. You should not do. This is awful. 15% sided with the Confederacy in the Civil War. You are a part of the problem. You think you get what I get? I'm going to draw a hard line right now. And everybody, we got to start drawing hard lines. Hard lines. That's number 3. And number 4, they're trying to rewrite it. They had slaves too. And not only did they have slaves, not only that, let's just look at something else really quickly before we go to the next thing, if I can find it. Okay, if I can find it. Gosh, I can't ever find stuff I'm looking for. Organization is key, ladies and gentlemen. Organization is key. But what I was trying to find, do y'all remember? Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. When all of those tribes decided they wanted to kick the Negroes out, like all of these tribes, all these Indian tribes decided, well, like, we're not going to do that. We're not, you got to go. They've drawn lines. How do you tell people who've already drawn lines that we can't draw lines? How? They've already drawn lines. They've said you don't get to, no, you're not going to be here as none of what you're talking about and talking about what you going to get and all that stuff. You got to go. You got to go. No, you're not going to be here as no Negroes talking about how you Indian. We're not doing that. Well, then if you're going to do that, then I get to say, first of all, it doesn't make any sense for you to get reparations. And don't try to piggyback. You've been fighting for yourselves, and kudos to you. But you don't get to piggyback on reparations. You don't get to come here and be like, well, me too. And look at what it says on the bottom. Black freedmen who are descended from the slaves of Cherokee Indians protest their expulsion on September 2nd. This is like 2011, I believe. Outside Regional Bureau of Indian Affairs office in Muskogee, Oklahoma. right? They didn't care. They didn't care that you was outside protesting. They've decided that you don't belong. It is what it is. Well, if they decide that you don't belong, we have every right to decide that they don't belong. You don't. This is not your reparations, and you don't get to. I don't know who told Biden that you get to piggyback this, but you gonna cost that man. You gonna cost that man the White House, and kudos, good for you. Good for you. Try to pull up something real quick. These people are crazy. Let me bring up something real quick. I don't, you know what I find? I don't understand why we are so reluctant to kind of be divisive. It's not divisiveness. It's like you're selecting yourself. Why wouldn't you want to select yourself and your kids? It don't make no sense not to. You have to. It's not even what makes sense. You don't got no choice. There's no choice in this. There is no choice. Population distribution by race, 1940 to 2010. Look at that. Pay close attention, ladies and gentlemen. Pay close attention, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to pay close attention. Let me bring this a little bit bigger. The orange is white. The blue is black, African American, American Indian, or Alaska. What is that? Gray? That's a small group. Some other race. They didn't even care. So what I'm saying, family, as I move on to the next one, as I move on to number 5, one of the things that we have to do is not select the wrong leaders. Okay? You can't select the wrong leaders. Now, what do I mean? See, because the thing is, we have selected the wrong leaders, and we have to let them go. We have to let them go. There's no other way around it. I'm trying to find something. I'm trying to pull something else up about the Indians, so I can just make it clear for you before I move on. But we've been very awful in terms of how we have selected leadership. So how Native Americans adopted slavery and white settlers. Let me just read this for you. Some members of the 5 tribes became owners of enslaved black women and men themselves as they increasingly adapted to Euro-American norms such as style of dress and government structure. Beginning in the late 1700s and intensifying in the early 1800s, members of the 5 tribes and used enslaved black women and men as domestic and agricultural laborers. For example, Chickasaw planters exported an estimated 1,000 bales of cotton in 1830. This cotton was picked and processed by black slaves. Comparable in 1826, the state of Georgia produced 150,000 bales of cotton. Hold on one second. In 1860, about 30 years after their removal to Indian Territory from their respective homes in the Southwest, Cherokee Nation citizens owned 2,511 slaves, 15% of their total population. Choctaw citizens owned 2,349 slaves, 14% of their total population. And Creek citizens owned 1,532 slaves, 10% of their total population. See, they own 15%. 15% of their population. 15%. Chickasaw citizens own 975 slaves, which amounted to 18% of their total population. Come on, fam. Included in what? How do you include this group? Tell me. I just want somebody to explain to me how this group is included in reparations. If 15% or 18%, which was the when you look at the bottom when you talk about the chicks, how if that was the percentage of your population, you talk about these African slaves, how are you included in the reparations conversation? What are we doing? How is this even a conversation? It's disrespectful for you to even bring that up to me. It's disrespectful for you to even suggest to me that these people should somehow get reparations. No, y'all done got casinos and everything. Y'all handle y'all business. I don't have no problem with you handling whatever business you got to handle with the United States government. But this is my business. And you're going to get in a lot of trouble if you get in my business. I ain't never got in your business. And you excluded us anyway. So hush, get somewhere and shut up and sit down. Everybody want to just shoehorn in. Oh, goofy dumb Joe Biden. Just say anything. Well, the Negroes won't care. I'm going to just say goobly goobly goop. And you see that all the way around. People just trying to shoehorn into whatever we do and change the narrative. And because we have the wrong leaders in the space. Well, they were indigenous. Yeah, and slave owners and slave whatever. And don't pick the wrong leaders. You see this right now. In terms of picking the wrong leaders, the ACLU thing. You got Barbara in there. All the wrong people. Joy Reid is in there, and she stood against reparations, still stands against it. And why should she even talk about it? Your people ain't even from here. Get somewhere and be quiet. Talk about something you understand. I don't know what it is, because from what I see, you don't understand much of nothing. But talk about something you understand. That's like having a Jewish person who doesn't have any ancestors in the Holocaust come and talk about who should get Holocaust money. Nobody would allow that but us. Joy Reid, shut up. Who else you got in there? Lord, you got doggone, who else? Let me bring this up. Somebody else stupid is in there. Lord, they got in Cobra in there. And Cobra don't know nothing about nothing. They did nothing but wear dashikis and kangos. And they got them in there. What kind of nonsense is this? What kind of world are we living in? That's why number 5 is you got the wrong leaders. We got all the wrong leaders in place, and they trying to pick leaders, and we got to let these people know, listen, you don't get to pick our leaders. You don't get to have Mark Thompson in there. He be punching on people. He just punch on people and swing on people. He's unstable. And he ain't never did nothing but have a radio show that didn't never have nobody listening or looking or watching. No. Go home. Go preach or something. I don't know. What is he, a preacher? He's not very charismatic. But anyway, let me go on. We got to talk about this other thing. We got to talk about it. Where did it go? When we talk about who the leaders are, there's no way to talk about who the leaders are and who they aren't without talking about some fishy business that's going on right now. This is why we have the wrong leaders. Our leaders be out for the monies. So look at this. Let me bring it up a little bit bigger for you. Comcast commits $100 million to multi-year plan to fight inequality. Well, hold on. Well, wait a minute. $100 million. Who's getting the monies, Comcast? Let's read through this a minute, because these people be out here wanting the monies. In a memo to employees, he said the funds, this is the head of Comcast, made up of $75 million in cash and $25 million in media will be part of a multi-year program. The announcement comes as media and entertainment companies respond to surging national protests. That's fine. Now let's go on. Let me see if they have a point. So where is this money going? Okay, let's talk about it. Social justice. We will partner with and provide significant grants to organizations working to eradicate injustice and inequality. Organizations will include, but not limited to, you gotta know the National Urban League's in there. Mark Morial is a hustler among hustlers. He wear pinky rings. He is a hustler among hustlers, man. That man, he wears pinky rings and slick back hair. That man right there is the biggest hustler. The National Urban League, the Equal Justice Initiative, and I don't have a problem with the EGI, the National Association for the Advancement of Certain People, colored people, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and the National Action Network. They ain't even, listen, that's Al Sharpton. They ain't even got no location for them. They ain't got number P.O. boxes. We looked. This is just a way to move money. And this is a way for Mark Morial and Al Sharpton. I don't even call him Reverend Al much no more because he's a Negro without a church. I ain't never seen your church. And your preaching ain't what it used to be. I said it. I think I can out-preach you. But what I'm saying is, this right here is just a way to repay them for the Byron Allen lawsuit and everything, because they're gonna just get they're gonna do stuff with Byron. We're gonna give him some channels or whatever, but we're gonna pay y'all for running defense for us. Y'all been real good Negroes, really good Negroes, wonderful Negroes. Attaboy. Well, you get paid for that. You're gonna get paid for that. They're gonna give you what you need. They're gonna create this whole thing and make it, and they're gonna give it to Equal Justice, because that's one thing that doesn't make it look shady, because they have some good stuff. We're gonna give it to them, but we're gonna give it to our two little shysters too. Because remember, I don't know if you all remember. I don't know if everyone remembers how much Mark Morial was getting paid. Do y'all remember how much Mark Morial was getting paid? Ooh, that man was getting paid like $800,000 or some stuff like that. Like he do something. Like he worked for a living. What kind of work is he doing? I don't even understand how you be doing race work and get that kind of money. Let me see if I can find it. Child, people. Oh, people be running all kinds of cons. I ain't never seen such cons. We got a runner. Oh, here it is. This was Antonio's tweet. Now I want to bring the bottom part up. He says, hold on one second. Mark Murray Urban League is paying himself $1 million a year when only 300,000 black families are even worth more than $1 million. Tell him to stop taking ADOS, stop talking about ADOS and take a pay cut. Look at this. Let me see if I can make this even bigger. This dude is taking like almost $900,000 a year home. By what right, you little smarmy fellow? I don't even know if it'll show up good here, but it's on Antonio, and I think this was in 2019. By what right you get that much money with your pinky ring wearing self? And remember, he got on tape. He got on tape and said, there's this weird group coming on now to try and divide us. It's called ADOS. Nah, you just mad because that money's, we want to come get that money out of your pocket and make it the collective. We want to get that money to the collective. You don't deserve that money. So you can wear cufflinks and fat ties and pinky rings. No, sir. And we see this and we understand what's going on. It's a slush fund. So we have the wrong leaders. That was number 5. Number 6. We have the wrong answers. And the wrong lessons. Number 6 and number 7. Well, that's number 6. Because I saw this little man and I saw him on TV. And he said, they say his name is Emmanuel Acho. And he's a football player. And I think his parents are Nigerian. Now, I don't know. I don't have no problem with you. You were born here. But you are speaking to Matthew McConaughey about race in America. Very interesting. Very interesting too how you spoke to him. You told him that he just has to think about how his decisions are affecting other people, and you talked about it. And then you went on CNN and told people how black people should be addressed. Well, you just call them all black. You don't have, by what right, sir? You don't know what you're talking about. See, your dad was a doctor, so you don't understand the plunder of ADOS. You're out of your space. You're out of your league. Don't talk for me. Don't have no conversation on my behalf. Because we don't have parents who are doctors. We're not you where 2 kids went to the NFL. We don't have that. You don't get to speak for me. Lineage matters. You don't get to speak for me. You can ally with me, but you don't get to speak for me. Your father was a doctor. And you are telling this man to respect hearts and minds. And like you having this hearts and minds conversation. And isn't this Yvonne Orgy's little husband? Listen, step away. Go back to ESPN and handle your business. Your business is not here. Stop trying to eat all the fruit. Stop trying to eat everything. Go back and this little dumb stuff you told him. Listen, we don't need no white empathy. That's not what we need here. We need white sacrifice. You telling this man all the wrong stuff. You telling this man all the wrong stuff. And it doesn't benefit me. Well, you just got to think about. Stop telling white people they just got to think differently. No, they got to sacrifice. They're living a world that was built off of slaves and slave labor and how the nuclear plants and all the garbage got put in our neighborhoods. And we got to spread that out now. You got to give up whiteness. But you don't know enough about America. Like, I don't know where you've been living because you've been so privileged by your doctor dad and everything. You don't have the lineage that ties back to sharecropper. So don't talk to me or don't talk to Matthew McConaughey. And because his video got 500,000 views, ours won't, because he's talking about something that he doesn't understand. You don't understand the oppressive force in this country because you didn't experience it. Now, you may have experienced a one-off incident where somebody saw you and, oh, I think they thought I was going to rob them. I had a bad time. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the poverty of America being baked into our community. You don't have that. So please stop talking. You don't help us by talking. You just need to get somewhere. There are a lot of people in this moment that just need to get somewhere and hush. Why? What right do you have to tell? You're American, you born here, but what right did you have to go and see and say, well, this is how you call Americans? No, you call me ADOS, and I call you something else. Nigerian American. I don't know what your mama is. You didn't talk about that, but your daddy is, so I assume. Like, no, we don't have the same. You probably live life kind of white. With a doctor, my dad was a doctor, my mom, and I went to this school and I was car. That's not my life. That's not most ADOS life. So please don't speak for us. Gosh, we got these Boule ADOS people, Mark Boreal, we got this guy, we got all kind of nonsense going on. Number 7, I'm gonna go through because I'm getting slow on time. Number 7, don't make this about Trump as if this is just Trump and it just started. Everything has been awful since Trump came. America been hanging people and oppressing ADOS. Trump made it worse. But don't act like America was wonderful. Maybe you were living wonderful. Don't act like America was wonderful before Trump. That's number 7. Number 8. Number 7 was, I skipped number 7. Don't make this about your black friends. I saw somebody say, well, we should just have, if people had more black friends. I saw somebody say, if you don't have a black friend, go find yourself a black friend. Left a sour taste in my mouth like old milk. If you don't have a black friend, just go find yourself a black friend and talk to them. What? So that's gonna be some kind of solution. If you just find your black friend and talk to a black friend and talk about them about what they go through, that's the solution? That's not a solution. See, the black friend thing is not a solution because it's not about finding a black friend. Let me say that again. It's not about finding a black friend. What you have to understand, what you absolutely have to understand, is why you have no black friends. You have no black friends because that was decided by that wasn't decided by you. That was decided by society. Segregation that put us away from each other and gave one group more money than the other. That's why you have no black friends. It's not about going out and finding a black friend. It's about changing the structures and institutions that made it to where you have no black friend. Don't you pull me off street trying to talk to me about race. You have to understand why you don't have black friends in your life. You have to understand that. I already said number 9, it's not about a poor people's campaign. That's not reconciliation. And the price and cost is too high. And let me say one last thing. You know, there's a book club, you know, Dr. Cosby has in Louisville, and it's a wonderful book club. What people have to understand, though, is the book club is the road. It's not the destination. See, too many people get caught up in this idea of the book club as the destination. Well, I'm going to go join a book club and try to learn more. That's wonderful. I salute it. I'm always a fan of political education. But that book club is supposed to take you somewhere. That book club is supposed to lead you somewhere. That book club is supposed to be your road to reparations. It's not supposed to be an excuse for you to get off the road and take an exit. That's not what the book club is for. The book club is a road, not a destination. So those of you white America or whoever you are, those who have become white, do not use the book club as your destination. Well, we have a book club and we've been trying to understand. That's good. That's good. It's great. Now use that as engine. Use that book club as a fuel, gasoline to get you on the road to reparations. That's what the book club is for. It's not for you to just read and enjoy yourself. No, that's not the book club. You have lost your mind if you think that's what the book club is. The book clubs are to give, and it's also, you know, white people, you are around white people. We typically are not. It's for you to be able to make the arguments that need to be made. That's for you. So 9 was the poor people, and then 10 is, you got to understand that's the cost. 10, you have to understand that the cost is high. So we talk about this. If you're talking about this conversation in like, well, we just gonna try to do some things, and we just gonna do some things when we gonna try to understand each other. No, you're not being honest with white America. The cost for them will be high because they have to give up whiteness. They have to because we have to be elevated given our contribution to this country. That's what reparations is. It's not equality. I'm not interested in equality. I'm interested in elevation. Treat me like a white woman with a cat. Old white woman, not no young white woman. Old white woman with money. You see her with a fur coat. She got a cat. You're like, oh, she a money bags. Yeah, treat me like that because that's what I did here. That's what my people did here. That's what I've earned. And I'm standing in the shoes of that. So treat me like that. In terms of my economic upward mobility, I don't want to be treated the same as everybody else. Wait a minute, equality, that means I'm treated the same as people who just got here, people who ain't did nothing and don't have any ancestors. No, I don't want to be treated. I don't want equality. I want elevation. They're different. It's very, very, very different. The last thing I will say before I go to the phones is this. This is the last thing I will say. Please, please, please don't get caught up in confusion. Do not get caught up in confusion. See, Newt Gingrich, I remember, I have a long political memory, and people have been reminding me of that lately. But I remember Newt Gingrich from the Contract with America. He's always been just on some stupid stuff. How would we decide who is eligible, talking about reparations he's talking about? Would first generation Africans who just migrated to the United States be eligible for reparations? Newt, we've already said they wouldn't. Stop asking questions we already know the answer to. Are you slow? We already said that. Don't let people get you caught up in confusion because they have used these tools for too long to try to be like, well, who would do it? How would we do it? I don't know. Goobity goop, gobbity goop, goobity goop, goop, goop. If yes, why? If no, why? Would there be an income limit, or would millionaire athletes, movie stars be eligible? Why would they be eligible? Now ask me a question, Newt. Let me tell you something. If you would not ask this question to anybody else, don't ask it to me. Here go Newt again. Would children of mixed marriages be eligible for one? I don't understand. For a reparation automatically be eligible, could Elizabeth Warren qualify? Elizabeth Warren, what you talking about? She's not ADOS. How would she qualify? What are you talking about? Would Native Americans pay reparations, or would they get their own reparations? No, they would pay. Because this country owes, because just like when I pay, I'm sure some of what ADOS gives goes to the Native Americans, whatever they get, because the Native Americans, even in COVID, they got some stuff. Look at this. A federal judge on Monday ordered Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin to distribute $679 million in emergency COVID-19 relief to Native American tribes that should have gotten it months ago. And he chided the agency for causing irreparable harm with the delays. See, I'm I'm sure my tax dollars contributed to that. And so I'm sure that the Native American tax dollars should contribute to reparations. So yeah, Native Americans, you pay. You don't get any kind of exclusion. That's just what it is, and it's what it should be. So fam, I'm at the 1 hour mark. Just give me a moment. Yeah, somebody said in the chat he trolling. Yeah, he trolling. Now these people just troll for a living. Give me a couple minutes to set up the phones. I will be back. We're going to have the conversation. I'm curious to what you think, like, are some of the problems and issues that you see. Like, we're in this moment, right? So I'm curious to understand what you see as the problems for the moment, like the impediments, like what's getting in the way, who is getting in the way, what kind of arguments are getting in the way of us, like, really moving this moment towards reparations and justice. Like, what gets in the way of that? So give me a few minutes, set up the phone. We'll be back and we will have the conversation. going on, fam? We are back, and we are going automatically right back to the calls, fam. Going right now to 310. What's going on?
What's up? This Tone Talks.
What's going on, Tom?
I want to hit a couple of things real quick. I just want to make sure, because I know you went through 11 things, that we go back to the top, because something important was inside of that. And when you hit 11 things, sometimes that nuance. Can we pull up the Vox article, the Vox image? That image is something I've shown, Yvette shown in another forum several times, and I want to make sure that we get something clear that's happening. We've been pointing out that CNN has basically made a decision, along with MSNBC, that particularly as to heterosexual ADOS men, we're just not going to be on TV unless we're 60 years old. And then in addition, they're going to allow people that are not ADOS to speak about ADOS. No review of what their history is, their familial lineages in relation to ADOS. Did their tribe sell slaves? Did their family sell slaves? But also, just what is their personal anchoring? So, like, we wouldn't let an Indian or a Chinese person speak about ADOS, like, culture on Juneteenth, but somehow a person from West Africa is vastly different. I have no idea. But I feel like what's about to happen, if I had to call it, is that you guys got to... I don't have children. Yvette doesn't have children. Your children are 12 and 13. You got a war coming on upon you. And I'm not talking about, like, a physical war, but, like, they've made a decision that your kids might have to fail. Because what I see with these numbers, and I want to make sure we see what happened here, is that they've created a mass group, and that's why the numbers look a little bit better. So let's go through what I mean. So if you look at the white line, white America controls 90% of the wealth. It dips, though, if you look right around 03. You might say, well, doesn't it look like it's different because of the rise in the blue line, which is other groups, that's Indians, that's Asians, different types of Asians other than the Indians, which are considered, and we're not talking about Native Americans, we're talking about from India. Several other groups as well. But there's also an uptick in the yellow line as well. And understand that yellow line is upticking for a particular reason, if I had to call it. And that's because that coincides with the rise in the introduction of massively increasing numbers of African immigrants with wealth. And so, if they don't disaggregate the numbers so that you can actually see what the ADOS basically collapsed, I have no idea how y'all gonna move forward. And when I mean that with everything I'm saying, because what's gonna happen is that number looks like it increased some instead of looking like it dropped below, say, even the Latino number. But if you disaggregate and force the Africans out, you'll see their numbers actually look a lot better, and then ours look what they're supposed to be, basically deflated from being ADOS. Then you have this real discussion about why you should not be included with us in any program. And then we have a discussion of what your role is and why our line is flat. So if we can pull up the color of wealth, because I speak specifically, those people that have been to the channel have seen the color of wealth before out of Los Angeles, but it gives us some visual into how we talk here. We don't talk generally. They'll come on this channel from any country or any part of the nation and not talking specifically. So this is the color of wealth. First time ever that we broke out, that we saw the Federal Reserve along with several colleges. Shout out to Darity. Break out blacks from African blacks, and what you saw is what exactly I'm saying. So before I say we go over this real quick, is to be in the top 10% of black families nationally, all you have to be is worth like about 150, 160. Your home, your everything that you have. Top 10% of black families. 5% is about 350. Only a few 350,000 black families out of 20 million break $1 million. Most of them between $1 and $2.5 million. So African black in Los Angeles is pretty much we're talking about Nigerians. Well, what you see is that their median value is worth 150. That means that half of the African Nigerians in Los Angeles are in the top 10% of blacks nationally. Let me say that again. I told you that the top 10% of blacks, all you got to have is 150, 160, but their median is 150. That means half of the families in Los Angeles, regardless of age, are in the top 10% of blacks nationally. So what I'm saying is that that group is the reason you see that yellow line list. If we can go back to the box, it starts, if you look, and it's kind of hard because they mesh the lines together, but on the box you see it lists right around 03. essentially, I want to make sure that I make this framing clear because Yvette's got a book that she's going to do in the book club that you have to read about black immigration to understand. And this is, I have no idea how how you move forward. Like, if I had a 12-year-old, if y'all think that I'm lit now, I would be in another space. Because if you look, it also allows the green line to look like it came down for white folks. But it didn't actually come down. They just immigrated in money from international places. They didn't change the pie. They just immigrated in money from somewhere else. But they didn't give black Adolf people nothing. And then they gave you all the dreams. Good luck paying for college. But they about to start asking for cash. And so, like, now, can you pull up the image that actually has the text? I just want to read a little bit so we all get because these people like to come in and say, well, where are the specifics and da 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 da. We don't talk in nothing but specifics here. So when we read the text, what we start to see is that African immigrants prior to 1965, the percentage of immigrants from Africa was 0.7%. By 92, that percentage increased to 2.8%. The largest increase was during the 90s as a result of the diversity visa program beginning in 90. In addition, beginning in 2000, there was a significant increase in admission of refugees. As a result, the percentage of legal migrants from Africa to the United States increased from 6% to 97 to 9.6%. And then now what you see is even after 2010 into 2020, it doubled and folds the amount of black immigrants coming in from Africa. Now, I'm not dealing with whether they should be able to come or not. I have my own opinions on that. We really don't need new labor. But what I am saying is that yellow line is pretty much probably increasing because of black immigrants from Africa. So, like, I don't know how you reconcile that with your dreams and everything you want in life during COVID. But I know how I'm seeing it is that it's not. We always talk about Adolf in relation to white folks, but Adolf also has a larger, more personal battle with people who are using our narrative but don't come from what we come from. And I'm not just talking about struggle. I'm talking about you have no reason to talk about what we like our lives. Like, why is this man that was talking to Matthew McConaughey talking to him about slavery or anything else? Why is the lady from Washington Post on there talking about Jim Crow and slavery? Your family don't come from that. I wouldn't go to your Nigeria or Ghana and just start talking about the civil wars or anything else. I don't come from that. And so I hope that you understand what I just pointed out. That basically you've deflated and you're not even represented on the chart. That's what I'm saying to you. Now I'm moving to the second thing, the Newt Gingrich. I want everybody to understand that I'm totally with what Yvette said, but part of what you're saying about why Newt Gingrich said it is because this guy is sitting there. So we didn't do the work to say he shouldn't sit there. We have started it as Adolf, but I don't know how this all works out. Like, in terms of Newt Gingrich is saying, how would we decide who was eligible and for how much? Would first-generation Africans who just migrated to the United States be eligible for reparations? Understand, we had an article, we had a cover page in the New York Times. I have no idea what this man is talking about, where he's been. But I will say that the reason he said that is because CNN, MSNBC have continuously put on TV these African people to talk about Juneteenth and Martin Luther King. I don't understand. We don't allow Indians or Chinese people to come on TV and talk about Martin Luther King or Juneteenth. But why are they on TV? I don't understand how we got here other than the fact that they decided that you're not going to exist. I don't know if everybody sees that that's the end of this, like, road. Now, if you don't exist, it's not going to be like you just disappeared today and you were here on Monday. So it's a slow, you don't exist. In the sense of your family got to fail a lot. The dreams you got don't happen. You lose your house. Your marriage don't work because y'all don't have enough money. You're always moving all around the country to find a little pocket of somewhere to live. Your store is closed. I'm talking about that kind of not exist. You got to understand, in Louisville, there are black people that washed themselves on the side of Dr. Cosby's church that built Louisville. Adolf people. I just wanted to frame this because I come back to that Vox article, and again, that yellow line only upticks in my mind because black immigrants are not disaggregated, but allowed to fold into Adolf and create a mask over the failure that Adolf is facing. I just wanted to say that.
All right, Tone. Appreciate you. As always, Tone coming with the fire. But that's just the truth. That's not even fire. Like we're in a space where kind of fire is considered like truth is. Oh my god. Like yeah, and there's no. It's kind of disrespectful. And it's just like, well, I was born here, yeah, but the lineage is not here. And you've been successful. You've eaten all the fruit. Like, do you got to come eat this fruit too? And there was one. If you go to his YouTube, there is a part where he starts, and I don't know who his mother is, but I know he's anchoring his father. Your father's a doctor, but I'm pretty sure you have a lot of stuff about Nigerian parents be like. So if you're not anchored, he talks about, there's one part where he talks about, well, slavery, and this is what slavery meant. There was a race, and it's just like, if your father's a doctor and he's Nigerian and he's anchored in it, who are you to come on here and talk about slavery's a race? You're not anchored in that. You're anchored in a doctor daddy who's Nigerian. Like stop. Like, let us tell our stories. And your wife, your girlfriend or wife, fiance, whatever she is, Yvonne Orgy or whatever, tells our stories too. Can y'all both stop? This is not your story. I'm going to my next call. I am going to 832. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's going on, Yvette? How you doing? I just want to tell you that I'm a long-time caller. I mean, not a caller, but a long-time watcher. Been watching you for like 3 years now.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm here in Texas. Oh, no problem. I'm here in Texas, and you had a caller last week from Texas, and he was saying some real silly stuff.
What did he say?
He basically was just spewing out, bad information. And this is a problem that I'm having here in Texas. I mean, like I said, I've been watching you for some time now. I've been picked up the hype with you, and I'm riding with you. But I'm going to just tell you, it is hard in the battlefield when you're out there talking to people, trying to get them to understand.
Yeah.
It is real, real hard out here. And particularly here in Texas, I don't know what the mind frame is. Here, I don't know why it's like that. I'm from here, and I just recently had to cut off my family. You know what I'm saying? Talking silly, talking slick, spewing out bad information, and I'm trying to correct them, and they're dismissing me. Like, what I'm saying, it's not clicking to them. It's like they don't really understand that we only own 2.6% of the wealth in the country. It's like they can't, understand it. It doesn't click in their head for some strange reason. Like, it's not true. But when you show them the data, show them the information, it's like they still really just don't understand. And this is something that I'm experiencing since I've been preaching about this. But prior to watching you, Yvette, I had the same ideas that you had. You know what I'm saying? Like our lineage and, immigrants that are coming in. I've seen it firsthand in my master's program. I'm the only African-American male in the class. Yeah, there's other Africans in there, but I'm the only one. This is a weird environment, and this is in the United States.
Yeah.
There are more of us in here. This is stuff that we are dealing with, and I try to explain this to folks, and it seems like they just don't understand. You said that prior to calling, what would be something, what is something during this time? It's the lack of people being obtuse about the information or just don't know it all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's going to become a problem. It is a problem for sure, but I see that's the main thing. People just not grasping the information that I'm giving them. And I really have hope for us that we can really keep pushing, because I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to keep on preaching it.
Here's the thing, fam. Like, the people who are around you who just can't hear you or don't believe you, they're just going to fail in life. And you just have to stay out of their way when they fail. Like, you can't, I've been trying, if you've been trying to tell people and get you on board with ADOS and we got to do something and then it doesn't work, I mean, in terms of you being able to convince them, you just got to get out of the way now. Yeah. Because when they fail, you can't rescue them. And I know sometimes that's hard on people and they want to do it. No. We can't. This is not an individual exercise where I just come and rescue you and bail you out and give you money for your rent. No, this is it doesn't work if it's not collective. If it's not collective, I'm just throwing money up in the wind sometimes. It has to be a group effort. And so you're going to have to, psychologically, what we're going to have to do is be prepared to, the people who told us that we were crazy and we were stupid or we were racist, all kind of stupid stuff. You just got to be prepared to see those people fall. And it's not my fault. We tried and we're going to continue to try. but they're going to fall because they've done politics wrong. They don't want to read no books and no articles. They just want to live life and just throw their butt in the wind or out the window. It's not going to work. And so I'm not trying to tell you to be mean or whatever. I'm trying to tell you that you need your money. And that you can't save everybody. And you tried to save them.
Can't be meek about that.
Yeah, when you were talking to them last year. When you were talking to them the year before last. That was the moment to get together. And a lot of us moved with that moment. With reparations. They didn't. They down-talked it. You crazy. We don't need that. I got a business. You don't know about my business. What now when you need money, deal with your business. I can't give you mine because I need mine. We either ride together or we fall together. But I'm not going to individually give you a parachute. I don't have it to give. So I think we have to understand that. And everybody's going to learn, though. Everybody's about to learn what black life, when I say black, ADOS life is. Everybody's about to learn. In the midst of a pandemic, you're going to learn, boo-boo. You're going to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you said something last week, too, that really stuck out to me. You said we have lost our courage. We really have, and we got to get that back. And very disappointed with the information that Tone gave about what MSNBC and CNN are doing. And I believe that they're not putting nobody like us at our age group on TV because they know what we're gonna do when we get on that TV.
No, fam. And I want to thank you for calling in, but I'm gonna tell you, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much, fam. I'm gonna try to move to another caller really quick, but thank you so much. I can tell you. Thank you, fam. I can tell you where they're putting you. They're putting you in jail. You're not getting on TV. You're not going to get on TV. That's Don Lemon's space and other people. You're not getting on TV. You getting, what's the little Washington Post man's name with the little flat nose? Like his mama didn't pinch it when he was a baby. What's his name? Anyway, what is his name? You're not getting on TV. You're going to jail. 469, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Cut your background down.
Are you speaking with me right now?
Speaking with you, fam. Jonathan Capehart, you're right. Thank you, Chat.
Well, I'm Keelan Johnson. I'm calling from Dallas. I'm 22. I'm a Gen Z.
Turn your background down, fam.
And I was going to say about why this moment is being wasted currently, because a lot of Gen Z people who are protesting.
Hey, fam, is your background down yet? Did you turn your background down? Your laptop or?
I apologize.
Take your time, yeah.
All right, I was going to say the reason why this moment is being wasted currently with the protesters is because Gen Z has been raised raceless, and they do not see any type of lineage or basically they don't see color. So that's why people don't know about reparations. Like, I try to give you guys' data, information to my friends, and they just continuously basically blow it off while I'm trying to help them understand we're in a desperate place right now. Most of my friends who live out here, they live in 2-story homes, but they get no inheritance. So they're just going out into the world with no capital, no type of backing, and barely can live with their parents still. So I'm trying to get them to understand, that's not how we're supposed to be living when you go to the country. And they look at the racial wealth gap as we can fix that with entrepreneurship or investing, but you don't understand. When 70% to 80% of your money is going to your bills, how are you going to invest? How are you going to eat?
True. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
So, and the reason why also this life is getting wasted is because they haven't made to where we have no social capital politically. So that's why you have these organizations who are so subgroup based instead of, let's say, Black American based, like Black Lives Matter, where they focus more on trans or LGBT women initiatives, but backing it with blackness, because for some reason blackness can get you in, but when you try to get in, blackness does not get you to where you got to gain something. So they have to make it to about something.
Blackness gets you in, but I don't know if blackness gets you paid. Like it gets you paid in terms of being like pretending to be equal justice, whether you're the Urban League or Black Lives Matter, but like really advocating for this specific group, nah, that don't get you paid.
Yeah. So, like, all these organizations, they know that's why they refuse to address it. Like, if you were at a protest and you were, like, wearing something ADOS, like, you talking about reparations, the news should, like, intentionally not put you on TV speaking about it. So they know what they're doing. They want to make sure that you don't address this as a specific Black agenda, Black American agenda. But I think people, when they say Black, because Black has been flattened so much, they're making Juneteenth a like national holiday when it's an ethnic group holiday, which is our ethnic group.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you, Colin. I want to thank you for calling in. You're absolutely right, though. I think it doesn't like people are going in the direction of what gets them paid, and I think I don't talk about it a lot, but one of the things I would say is that people have to decide what makes their life a meaningful life. And what kind of makes your life a meaningful life is that like you're fighting for a righteous cause. I don't know if your life is truly meaningful if you're fighting for pinky rings or diamonds or whatever. So I think everybody has to have that conversation with themselves, and nobody can have it with them. I'm going to the next call. It's please. We're going to have a call-in show tomorrow, but please be cognizant of the people who are going to call in after you. So try to keep it concise and to the point, and I would appreciate it. And the other callers would appreciate it as well. 763, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Miss Yvette. My name is Mr. Toya Woodland. I'm here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay. And I think that one thing that I haven't heard discussed is the reason that African immigrants and others are being pushed upon us and telling our story has a lot to do with the DNC, the Democratic Party. They don't want to have to deal with reparations. So if you're putting an African immigrant out front or a Somalian immigrant out front, then they don't have to talk about reparations to us. But if they put an ADOS out front, then that's the conversation. Yeah. There's a debt to be paid. So they're allowing, this has been orchestrated by white America, and especially the Democratic Party, to take away from our story, to give our story to somebody else. And I like how you talk about us disappearing over a period of time, because that's exactly what is happening. I live here in Minneapolis, and we have a lot of Somalian refugees. And a lot of the protests have been centered around Somalians and telling our story, and after ADOS leaders want to have a kumbaya moment where we want to get along with everybody and be inclusive with everybody. But this is the moment where we should, every conversation, everything that we do, everything that we're about should be focused towards reparations. Mm-hmm. Because our ancestors were slaves, right? We are descendants of slavery. They were released from nothing to nothing, and we still have nothing. Absolutely. So they always talk about, you're racist, but you can't be racist if you don't control the system. We control nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing. So they're pushing these African immigrants to tell our story, and I've been real adamant. I'm running against Ilhan Omar here in Minnesota for her chair. So, and I heard her on television the other day telling my story, and I politely got on the feed and said I would appreciate it. I felt highly disrespected by you trying to gain notoriety or prosper off of my pain. Can we at least have our pain? Can we have our trauma?
Can we at least have our pain? Ooh, that was powerful. Can we at least have our pain?
They take everything from us. They don't even want us to have our trauma anymore. So let me have my pain. Let me be able to share my experience here as a Black woman in America, as an ADOS woman in America, trying to go through corporate America and be who I am, being the only one.
You better talk.
Let me share the experiences that I go through, how I have to tell my children, how to react to police. Let me have my pain. So
Absolutely.
it's and they want to change the narrative, but we have got to change the narrative back to ADOS. I don't even say Black Lives Matter anymore. I say ADOS Lives Matter. And I thank you for your show every week.
Thank you.
Ever since I've been introduced to you, I said, she sounds like me. Because I'm 47 years old.
I sound like you because I am you.
About this.
I said I sound like you because I am you.
Yes. I refuse to go down without a fight. And here in Minnesota, it's a hard fight. It's a hard fight because there are a lot of African immigrants, especially refugees here, that are trying to tell our story. And we have our community leaders that want to have a BIPOC, whatever that is, rallies and movements and protests. And we're going to all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. But we have to be not divisive, but distinctive.
That stuff didn't even catch, though.
From and who we are.
That stuff didn't even catch, though. The New York Times tried to talk about it and make that stuff, that BIPOC. Didn't nobody use that old dumb hashtag. Didn't nobody use that because you have to have the grassroots, push it by a grassroots movement. And all this stuff. I'm sorry. And maybe I don't think I'm being paranoid. I think they're trying to move this to have a conversation about Black indigenous people of color to say like y'all wasn't slaves, and so to get away from reparations. I don't think this is anything other than
Correct.
that. But I'll let you finish up, fam.
You're absolutely right, Miss Yvette. You're absolutely right. They don't want to have to deal with paying us. Now, in the CARES Act, they just gave Native Alaskans $8 billion, right? So, if you can give them $8 billion, you can definitely pay reparations. It's definitely time to pay reparations.
Absolutely.
All right? So, okay, again, our problem is there's no one fighting for us in Washington. There's someone fighting for Native Alaskans. There's someone fighting for other communities. But we don't have anyone that's going to fight the fight for us. It's going to stand up and say, it's time for this to move forward. Time to stop talking about it and be about it. If
Absolutely.
they can pay every American in America $1,200 and they found those people, then they can find us. And it's just
Absolutely, fam. Absolutely. I want to thank you. I appreciate you calling in. Absolutely. They find them people, they can find us too. You ain't lying. This is the truth. I'm going to my next caller. I'm going to 253. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey.
This is Deneen Grant. Hi, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
My name's Deneen Grant. I'm calling from Tacoma, Washington in the beautiful Northwest.
Okay.
It's so great to talk to you. I've been listening to your show for about 18 months. I am ADOS,
wow.
but I've never been able to call in, so I really appreciate it. What I wanted to share is this dilution of our story, of our justice claim is just getting on my nerves really badly. And I was thinking about it and thinking about some of the barriers that might be causing it. And what I thought about was this. There is this subconscious commitment to a societal and economic construct that keeps us in the bottom class. It's so inbred, it's so knitted into the fabric that it's unpalatable for white people to think about doing anything for ADOS people that would put us ahead of any other group.
What is that? What is the construct you're talking about that's kind of molded into everything? What is that?
Meaning, our wealth position.
Okay.
The construct of us being on the bottom wealth-wise and always being the bottom class and other people being ahead of us economically.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I believe that it's so distasteful to people and to have us ahead of anyone else that's the reason why they say, well, if we give it to other groups, then here's what you've done. You've enriched us to a point, but if you're spreading it all around like peanut butter, then the other people continue to be ahead of us. So we are still an underclass. We got a few more dollars, but we're still the underclass because you got a few more dollars and you were already ahead.
Well, let me just say this, and let me say this, because that's what kind of this class stuff does, right? The class stuff will give us some more money, so you have more money, but you're still on the bottom. So maybe because of the jobs guarantee or whatever, you make 40 instead of making 32. Still on the bottom. And I think part of the problem is with us too, though. Like, we don't want to advance and then leave new immigrants on the bottom. Or we don't want to be up here and leave Mexicans or Hondurans or anybody else on the bottom. We like to say, well, nobody should be on the bottom. But the truth of the matter is, like, we didn't build this construct, and we really don't normally agree with it. But if this society is built on somebody being the garbage disposal, nobody wants to say we've had enough of it. We've done it long enough. You do it. You go eat trash. We've eaten trash for 400 years. You go eat it. We're going to go up here and like live a whole life. We want to stay stuck here because we feel like we have to fight for everybody who's down here, instead of being like, no, that's not, I have to save myself from drowning.
I absolutely believe exactly what you're saying is true. But there's this war to keep us down at the bottom. And I think that's why that switch gets clicked every time when we say reparations for ADOS only. They're like, I'm not giving reparations to just that group, because then that would elevate them, and we would rather see anybody stay, whatever group that is, whether it's Native Americans, whether it's Atlanta, whoever it is. We cannot have those people above any group. So I believe that's just kind of how I walk through that.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right, but I think we're complicit. No, I think you're right, but I think we're complicit in it. I think the way we think is just like
absolutely.
We're just Captain Save Everybody, and we can't.
Yes. And that was my last point, because I know I'm trying to be succinct and I have notes so I can be succinct. But we feel it's shameful. I don't. But, so many of us, older folks, my parents' age, and even, people my age, we feel it's shameful to want reparations. We feel like it's, again, not me, but there's this feeling like we are less than, or we're not strong enough to make it on our own if we want reparations. But I've been doing my darndest to try to teach people, since I've learned so much from you all over the last 18 months, that it's not about a handout. Reparations is a debt being repaid, and people have to get past that shame place and know that you wouldn't be ashamed if you loaned somebody, $2,000 with a promissory note, and now it's time for them to pay you back. There would be no shame around that. I agree. That was just the last thing I wanted to say.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling. In, and I absolutely agree with you. I think too many. I remember when people. I don't know who it was. I'm so tired. Black people. I'm so tired of them slave movies. You should be very proud of what your people endured to make it here. Like, understand. Now, we don't have the wealth, because we, somewhere along the last 20, 30 years, we decided we was going to stop fighting. But to think that you came from, like, slavery, and now you're watching me on a computer or a phone, and you have a job. Now, that's not where we should be, but we're not supposed to be here. I don't know how anybody looks at what can only be described as a hero's journey and says, like, that makes me ashamed. Like, nobody should be more proud than you. Nobody has endured more than you and me and our ancestors. Nobody has done that. Like, how do you not look at that and tell the rest of America, I'm stronger than you? Deal with it. And I built the country. Deal with that too. So I don't understand people who don't get that. Going to the next call. I am going to 502. 502. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing, Yvette? This is Anthony, calling from Louisville, from Detroit, first time caller.
What's going on? How you been?
I'm all right. I want to thank you and Tom, for educating me and educating me and my family. I got me and my family sitting here watching your show right now.
Good. What's up, family? How y'all doing?
Everybody said it's better.
I love it. Y'all got a whole family. That's wonderful. That's beautiful.
Yep. Yeah, we talking about immigrants, and from what I can see is that all in the workforce is that number, it comes back like, you ADOS. You know what I'm saying? And some immigrants come from other countries, and we don't know what they did in these countries, but they can come here and get these jobs, and I don't think that's fair. You know what I'm saying? The whole judicial system, you know what I'm saying, is messed up here in America.
Yeah, of
for
course.
us, it's ADOS.
Yeah, for us.
So, yes, it is. But, I just wanted to call in and say thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, and thank you for getting your
calling.
family to watch. That is getting your family to watch is a win. That's a huge win. You should pat yourself on the back for that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Thank you thank y'all. Y'all wonderful. You got a wonderful family. You ought to be very happy. Go hug your peoples. But I agree with you.
Me and my buddy, we came to the conference in Louisville. You had it here. You know what I'm saying? And we was coming to the next one as soon as y'all get ready.
I know. As soon as we can figure out this coronavirus, we know we was gonna be in the middle of a pandemic. We had a whole plan that's going awry, but we're gonna figure it out. We'll have a conference. We just can't figure out which date because I don't want anybody to get sick traveling to or being at the ADOS conference. But it's going to happen. We're just trying to figure out when and how to do it. Because I don't want to have to. I don't know when the vaccine is gonna come, but I don't want to talk to everybody through masks, and I'm gonna have to wear a mask as it is now. So we're gonna get it figured out, though, fam. Get something figured out. Thank you. Tell the family much love.
All right.
Appreciate it, fam. I think. Let me just say this too. I think you have to credit yourself with small wins, right? They may look small, but getting your family to watch, like, me or Antonio, and getting them to because we got the whole ADOS family in the chat. Everybody's chilling. Everybody has a good. Getting your family to be a part of the tribe, the ADOS tribe, that's a big. And I think part of the thing is sometimes people want huge wins when that's an actual win. That is an actual good thing to happen. So be happy with that, and that you can be a part of a tribe and y'all laughing and talking. We're doing politics, but it's still family in the chat and y'all still family there. That's a win. You don't got to be disagreeing with your spouse or mate because they don't know what they talking about. 931, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
James calling out of Tennessee.
What's going on?
Nothing much. I just wanted to make a couple comments on what your question was, as far as some things that I see is causing confusion.
Okay.
I guess one of the things is I feel like we're kind of like walking around in the dark. We got a lot of things going on, and I feel like it's a lot of darkness, and everybody's trying to find their way on what we need to ask for and what people are talking about and things like that. I don't really see. I see a lot of people. I feel like co-opting the narrative. Not really saying the right things as far as when they are getting in front of the mic. Okay. And also that could be on who is deciding to put certain people in front of the mics.
That's true.
So I just don't really I see a lot of just confusion out there, and I don't really know what to how to, I guess, move this thing in the right direction, I guess. You would say.
I think you just keep doing what you're doing. I think for those of you who are on the ground, a lot of what you do is just kind of plant seeds. When you talk to people, that it's not your job to kind of beat somebody into something, but you kind of plant that seed, and somebody says, well, I don't know if that's true. You just send them the chart or whatever, and then you leave it alone. Because you can't drive yourself crazy. You can advocate. You should be a part of your ADOS chapter or whatever. But you can't drive yourself mental. In terms of you gotta believe. No, because everybody's about to learn. We're in the middle. I keep saying that. We're in the middle of a pandemic. People are going to learn. Whether they like it or not, they're gonna learn, oh, I'm ADOS and I'm broke. And I was the first person they sent out the door. And we didn't get no PPE or whatever. We didn't get no CARES Act. We didn't get none of that. So everybody's gonna know. So I think you just keep doing what you're doing, because sometimes even when you're making a change in people, you don't see it. You don't see it. And somebody might come back years later and say, you know what? You know that conversation we had? it really kind of changed me, but you might not know. So I think sometimes you just have to be okay with not knowing. Like, notice you planted the seed. That's all you got to know. And consider planting the seed to win. I planted the seed. I had the conversation. They got to come back to me. And sometimes they come back. Sometimes they get ashamed or whatever. But you got to just kind of consider planting the seed to win. Because I've had people come back to me years later after Obama and say, you know what, Yvette, you were right. I didn't know. I messed up. And that's just how it is. And you just got to be a farmer. I'm just going to plant some seeds and put it out there that this ain't right and this is what it is. I'm going to move on. I'm not going to get frustrated. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to get annoyed. I'm going to keep it moving.
All right.
Appreciate it,
All
man.
right. Well, I love your show.
Thank you.
You and Antonio, I've been with you guys since the beginning. And,
We appreciate
I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you, fam. Appreciate it. Don't you let these people get you frustrated, fam. All of y'all out there, don't let these people get you frustrated. I'm going to 203. 203, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey, what's going on?
I called you back in the time when this coronavirus first started and said health is wealth. But girl,
it is.
You and Antonio are on point.
Thank you.
I'm up in Connecticut, but my mother and my father comes from South Carolina, and my mother comes from Alabama.
Okay.
And I wanted to tell you, I was watching a Stanford and Son skit, and they were talking about how they didn't want to get welfare, so they planted this way back. That welfare and anything that government got to give you is wrong. I call it we alike syndrome. They felt like we alike. We go to college, we go to work, we make money. Everybody up there in Congress, they get millions. We alike. So everybody thinks they're alike, and we're not. Our story is not alike.
No.
My grandmother used to have to take care of other people's family and then come back and take care of her own. I know it's a story that nobody else would know unless you lived it. And I think we need to build on that because, see, they forgot. My grandmother had to take care of somebody, a white family, and then come back home and take care of her family. They think that they did this all on their own, and they didn't. They didn't.
Absolutely.
But it's called we alike syndrome. They have we alike. We go to college, we get a check, we get a job, we all alike. We not alike. You owe us.
Absolutely. You absolutely right,
we want our money. We want our money. We want our benefits. We want our life.
We absolutely do. And we deserve
it. And I just
it.
wanted to tell you and Tone to keep doing what y'all doing.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in, fam. Hey, listen, and we deserve it. We're going to end the show right there, fam. If you all didn't get in tonight, do not forget, do not fret, do not be dismayed. Because tomorrow is the all call-in show. So it's everything but the kitchen sink. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Grind whatever acts you want to grind. That is the show. Tomorrow night, we will start at about 9:30 because I don't have any setup to do. No setup whatsoever. Because it's just gonna be an all call-in show. We're just gonna talk. So we'll start at around 9:30. Started around 9:30 tomorrow, and we'll take it from there. And that remember, we're gonna have that be a recurring show. Once a month, we're gonna have a call-in show where people who don't get in during the show can have a conversation. But until then, family, please do not forget on July the 30th and the next day, that Thursday and that Friday. I can't remember how many days is in July. But we will be talking about this book. So if you have not got the book, please get the book. Let me see what it is. Oh, yeah, this is 31 days. So 30th and 31st, we will be having a conversation about this book. So please pick up this book. If you have not picked up this book, please hit the like button. Please share. If you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com. Go to patreon.com/Carnell. I sent off like 20 shirts today. I have not forgotten about you. If I haven't sent it off, some of the sizes I didn't have, and I had to go get some more. And those some arrived yesterday, and some will arrive like early next week. So if you haven't gotten the shirt, do not fret. I have not forgotten about you. If you wanna go donate in Patreon, go to patreon.com/Carnell. But the most important thing, please hit that like button for me. Please subscribe to the channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel, that is very important. If you have not done it, please do that. And for those of you who are coming through tomorrow to have to, for those of you who are coming through tomorrow, I will see you tomorrow. And we're going to have a really good conversation. But do not forget to hit that like button before you leave. That costs you no money. Is to just hit that like button. Just hit the like button. No monies at all. So tomorrow, fam, I will see you. Be easy breezy and finish your libation. No libation should be there when you go to sleep. Finish your libation. I'll see you tomorrow, fam.